Hello, everybody. Welcome back to We're Talking Movies. As always, I'm Andrew, and I'm joined by my co-host and friend Cade. And today we have a fun one for you folks. Today we are looking at Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island from 1998, aka the first of what would become many direct-to-DVD Scooby-Doo movies. And this one, Cade and I will agree, is one of the best. And we both thoroughly enjoy this. Cade, what are some of your pros you have for this little slice of late '90s cartoon nostalgia?
I got to be honest with you. I think that this has always been my favorite Scooby-Doo movie of all time. And I think the reason for that is because I just love the storyline that this movie has. Scooby-Doo has always been a mystery-themed story. And this, in my opinion, has one of, if not the best mystery in the Scooby-Doo lore. I think that the movie also contains so many fascinating elements that all work together really well in one story. You know, the movie explores zombies, it explores cat demons, it has pirate legends, and so much more. And I think that they all work together really well.
Yeah, it's a different kind of Scooby-Doo mystery. Like the tagline says, this time the monsters are real. It's like, oh, they're gonna take the mask off and it's gonna be, old man Jenkins. No, this one is like, oh, these are real zombies and real cat demons. And as a result, it does create kind of a bit more of a darker tone and a bit actually genuinely scarier than most Scooby-Doo mysteries. And one thing that I really like is that it's got tied into that is those are some legit twists as well. Like what you and Kate and I watched this actually recently before we decided to review this one. And watching it, I kind of suspected that Simone and Lena were pulling the strings on Moon Scar Island, but I genuinely didn't see the idea that they were ancient cat people, sacrificing people for immortality to be the legit twist. I was thinking it was going to be something related to voodoo because this takes place in Louisiana.
Yeah, and I think part of what's great about the twists in this movie, I really love the reveal that the zombies are not the villains of the film. It was such a great way to misdirect the audience because, you have the idea of the gang going out to finally find real monsters, not just criminals wearing masks. And I think it's so compelling how the first monsters or ghosts that the gang encounter are actually not the villains of the story either.
No, not at all. And it circumvents what you're expecting. Like, oh, the zombies are real. Clearly they're going to be the actual bad guys. And then you find out, oh, they were actually just trying to scare the people away so they don't end up like them. Again, it's a couple of legit twists, and I don't usually fall for twists. So the fact that both, not one, but both of them got me is definitely a positive for me for this movie.
Yeah, and I think part of what's great about the story is I honestly like the darker and I think a little bit more mature tone that the movie has. You know, things obviously, like I said, take a very, not, well, maybe not very, but a dark turn in this movie, which I think kind of made sense because if you look back, the gang has kind of grown up at this point. You know, they're not just teenagers anymore, they're young adults. And I think that it makes sense for the story to take a more, I guess, mature tone and direction as well and explore darker elements. And I think that that was something that was probably refreshing for Scooby-Doo fans as well.
Yeah, it really was. And I like that it has that more mature, dark tone, but it still has the classic Scooby Doo humor. I mean, for a franchise that's been running basically on and off since the late 60s, the fact that it still finds ways to be humorous is nothing short of miraculous, and this movie is no different. I love the humor in this movie because it's subtle. You know, you've got Scooby getting hypnotized kind of by the owl and sort of acting like the owl he's looking at. You got Shaggy opening his suitcase only to reveal he's got multiple versions of the exact same outfit he's wearing. You got the Scooby Doo versus the Cats kind of fiasco and feud going on there. And then you got probably my favorite running gag, which is the Shaggy and Scooby constantly messing up Snakebite Scruggs catching the big catfish.
Yeah, that was all definitely fun to explore. And I think in terms of the, darker tone, one thing that I do like is when it comes to the villains, Simone and Lena and even Jock, I think what's great is, they're definitely great villains in the Scooby-Doo franchise. I think Simone especially is an interesting villain because she's not motivated by greed like a lot of previous Scooby-Doo villains. Instead, what she desires is immortality. And I think that's fascinating to explore in the Scooby-Doo, franchise when it's not just oh, it's a villain who wants to get something, who wants to scare people away, and they need to do it by wearing a mask or a costume. Instead, it's someone who is actually a real monster and who wants to achieve something much greater than that. And also, if you look at Simone and Lena, just their backstory, I think that they're really fleshed out characters. And I think that their origin that we learned when their island was invaded, I honestly remember watching it recently with you, and I thought, wow, this could actually work as a horror movie, actually. This is actually a really great idea.
Yeah, and kind of piggybacking off of that, I think again the fact that Simone and Lena are not just, people in costume kind of villains, but they also do make them a little bit sympathetic because I mean their homes were, attacked and invaded by pirates, but then their response being, "Oh, we're going to kidnap and sacrifice people so we can be immortal." It's like, yeah, we feel sympathy for you, but oh, you're not exactly going about it the right way, are you?
Yeah, and I think aside from the story and the tone and everything, another highlight for me is definitely the performances of the cast, the voice cast. Every actor, I think, did a great job in the film, especially every time that I know that Frank Welker's gonna be voicing a character in a Scooby-Doo movie. I can always count on him to deliver a good performance as either Fred or Scooby.
It really is. And he's been playing Scooby Doo slash Fred for quite a while at this point, and he always does a very good job with it. Though I need to show some love for Billy West as Shaggy because this is, if I'm not mistaken, his first turn with the character, and the first time somebody had or had voiced Shaggy who was not named Casey Kasem. And as somebody who's a big fan of Futurama, I love Billy West's voice acting, and he does a great job here, kind of portraying the lovable, let's be honest, closeted stoner that Shaggy is.
Yeah, and I think also Adrienne Barbeau did a great job as Simone. You know what? Also, one underrated vocal performance that I saw in the film is definitely Mark Hamill as Snakebite Scruggs.
Yeah, though that does kind of remind me. This isn't really a con for me, but am I the only one that gets the vibe that they were setting up for Snakebite to kind of come in and save the day and be the unexpected, hero at the end, and then that kind of really didn't happen?
Yeah, I see what you mean. I mean, we kind of got that with the character of Bo when we found out that he was an undercover cop. But, looking back at it, you do kind of think, oh, I wonder if Snakebite Scruggs is actually going to be the hero of this movie. He wasn't, but I think he was still a fun character to follow. And I think, again, Mark Hamill did an incredible job in the role.
He just wants to catch that damn catfish. I need to talk about two other pros. One that takes significantly less time than the other. The shorter one is I just want to give a shout out to how great the zombie design is in this movie because it's not just the, standard, oh, it's a zombie, it's somebody, with, in their, green rotting flesh and their clothes falling off. No, this one, I like the more brown aesthetic they go for. It kind of looks like they've been buried in the earth for years. And also the fact that, we don't just have, regular people. We got pirates, we got Confederate soldiers, we got Florida man tourists, etc. And it's all, it was a nice creative choice. And then we have to talk about the biggest highlight of this movie for me. It's Terror Time Again
Yes.
by the band Sky Cycle. This was a direct to DVD animated movie about a talking Great Dane and his friends solving mysteries. They did not need to go that hard for the chase music, but they did. And I will forever be grateful for it because not only is it a great chase song, it's just a great kind of fun, spooky song to begin with. And the fact that I had not heard of it before I saw this, I find genuinely surprising because it is that damn good. I genuinely have listened to it a few times since we've watched this because it is just that good of a chase music. And again, it did not need to go that hard.
I'm glad that they did.
No, I completely agree. I needed to highlight that.
All right, well, do you think we should talk about the few cons that we have with this movie?
Yeah.
All right, I'll go first. So one con that I've always had with the movie is the sort of love triangle that we see between Fred, Daphne, and Lena. I don't know why. This is just an aspect of the movie that I've always never really been a fan of. And look, I'm just not really a fan of love triangles in general. If they're executed properly, then fine. But generally, I'm just not always intrigued by them. And I can see what the intention might have been with this movie. Maybe the idea was to try to get audiences to trust Lena a little bit more before the reveal that she and Simone are the villains of the film. Nevertheless, I've always felt that this whole, triangle between her, Fred, and Daphne just felt kind of unnecessary for the plot.
Yeah, it feels unnecessary, and it also feels like just weird in general because it wasn't established, at least not to my notice, that like Fred and Daphne were not together or were having issues or anything like that. So why would you take a character like Fred, who is always presented as a bit of a scatterbrain, but overall a pretty, honorable, solid dude, and have him openly flirting with another woman in front of his longtime girlfriend? It just felt really strange, and it was something I personally wasn't a huge fan of either.
What about you? What's a con that you have with the film?
I mean, besides the love triangle, which again you went into great detail about, so I won't really elaborate on that any further. watching this nowadays, you can kind of tell the animation does show its age a little bit because this was the late 90s, that weird time period where, traditional animation techniques were kind of going out, but they hadn't fully embraced CG yet. It does show its age a little bit, but that's not a huge complaint in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I agree. But on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this movie?
I'm gonna give it an 8. I do genuinely enjoy this, little special. And is it the single greatest thing ever made? No, but did I definitely enjoy watching it? Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that for me, I've loved this ever since I was an infant, honestly, and I would probably have to rate this movie a 9. I think it's that great of a movie. I think it's definitely one of, if not the best Scooby-Doo movies ever made. And yeah, I just think it's that good.
Well, thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. That was our review for Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island from 1998. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and we will see you all next time.